60 Plus Racing Adventures is the iRacing league for the seasoned sim racer. All of our drivers 60 years of age or older in this championship, and it just keeps rolling strength to strength. I like to say more people turn 60 every day, and it's another new season and more action for 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Season opener here from Laguna, Seca. We are delighted to be bringing you coverage of 60 Plus Racing Adventures once again on RaceSpotTV. Every season has to start somewhere, and this one starts at Laguna Seca. Very well known, very picturesque, very challenging, very base content on iRacing. Great place to dive off into a new season. David Haynes here with Lorenzo Bonda. Lorenzo, more than 20 seasons already under our belt, and they just keep going.
They just keep going, and it's one of my favorite series to look from time to time here on RaceSpotTV. And as we see the schedule, we started with Laguna Seca. We raced here a few seasons back, and that was a very interesting race from start to finish. And we have a very good balanced season, as you can see here, David, as you're going to cover right now, with some oval and road tracks.
12 weekly rounds, and it starts here March 15th at Laguna Seca. They go to Iowa Oval, Manicourt, Road America, Sonoma. Round 6 will also broadcast from the Nordschleife. They go on to Hockenheimring, Fuji, Long Beach, Sebring, Gateway. And it all ends round 12, May 31st at Ulton Park. Season 26. They just don't stop. They keep growing. And in fact, one of the other categories that keeps growing within this championship is the Super 70s as well. iRacing drivers 70 years and older, and there is a fair chunk of them, and a lot of them very, very competitive as well. 8 championships in the past for Stefan Rösken. Ragnar Wisloff, now the defending champion, has notched up 4 in his recent run of form to put him 1 ahead of Russ Addy, and then 2 apiece for Donald Federer and Jos van der Ven. You see in the last 4 seasons there, it's been the Ragnar Wisloff show over winter as the ice and snow abate and it becomes better sailing weather. Ragnar Wisloff becomes less of a threat in this championship. Russ Addy, can he strike back? Can someone new emerge? We are going to find out as things get underway for the 2 races of this opening round of the season at Laguna Seca. Before they can go racing though, they've got to go qualifying, and that's what's just wrapping up now. Pretty short lap around here at Laguna Seca, especially when you contrast it to Road America or the Nordschleife, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the shortest tracks of the season. Might be tied with Ulton Park for being one of the shortest overall, but it's highly technical with so many elevation changes. And for the cars that they use, which is this Indy Pro PM18 car, it's so tricky for you to navigate, especially going through the corkscrew, getting the braking right, and you can upset the car a little bit more than usual. So it demands some practice and knowledge out of this car for you to get those really good, consistent laps going around the California track.
So almost every driver has put 1 timed lap to the board in qualifying, and will have 1 more attempt to improve on that. First runs in, and John Morgan is up top, the defending Super 70s champion. I don't want to give too much away, but he's got a couple of Super 70s championships as well, so John Morgan's probably forgotten more about racing than the 3 of us here collectively know, with Arjuna Kankapati, our producer, behind the scenes here as well. Second run of flying laps coming in. John Morgan there, not looking like he improved. Mike Grandy managed to pip him for the pole at the moment, but there is a big swathe of 20 more drivers all looking to improve, looking to get a front row position. Richard Coulam's gone to 3rd.
Yeah, and one of the closest qualifyings we're having so far as a Stump goes up in the board. Pole Stump now with a very good time of 1:19.133. David, and finally taking off the crown from John Morgan. We raced here about 7 months back, and John actually won race number 1 and won quite in a convincing fashion at the end. But now this time, apparently he has some good contention as we see Gerhard Jorgensen finish up this lap.
And what a lap it is. It sends him to the top. He's just a tenth ahead of Paul Stump. No purple sectors, if my timing's to be believed, on Gerhardus Jorgensen, but he's just strung it all together just right. And on his final lap to go to the top, there's hardly any drivers left that could disturb him. Jerry Kerr is 22nd and looking to improve from a 121.2. And as he crosses the line, he will to a 120.7 and to 20th place. So Gerhardus Jorgensen saving some for a little later in the session than everyone else. And
which is
he
really
has just eclipsed Stump, Olsen and Grandy.
Yeah, and what I'm liking so far is like top 15. We can put like top 15 within 1 second. 18 thousandths of a second is literally nothing. I think you might agree with me, David, on this one. I hope that what Hills has actually done to get his car around the track is very close. So 1 second over here can make it or break it. I think once you translate that to race, it might be a little bit more tricky, but it's showing promises of a very strong race one to kick off this 60-plus season.
Apparently, a blink of the eye takes 0.2 or 0.3 seconds, so it's fair to say that anything within about that margin is very, very little indeed. Gene Moore taking the opportunity for more practice. We see this commonly in qualifying, although Gene Moore is hoping that this second lap for him will be a valid one and will count. We do often see some drivers doing their 2 qualifying laps and then staying out on track for a little bit of extra warm-up. Just going against the saying that less is more.
You thought about that just now, didn't you, David? Or you had that planned all along?
I'd imagine I've probably said it before.
All right, fair. I might have caught it, but then again, it's that was nice of you for to give out that punt. And start the David Haynes punt counter.
And so that one will count for Gene Moore, a 120.6. Puts him to 20th place. Definitely a couple places around here where you can get out into the dust, dirt and gravel, and not much in the way of paved runoff all around. And of course, what a challenging corner is that corkscrew. You can't see the second apex until you're already committed to the corner. You can very easily pick up a slowdown penalty there, which can be so costly in racing conditions, so that's something to look out for now coming to races. Peter Hallstrom is the only driver left on track as the timer ticks down towards the race, and it is a beautiful California day.
Yeah, for one, it looks like 20 degrees Celsius ambient, not that hot in the California desert. 24 degrees on track with 2 kilometers of winds and 55% in the terms of humidity around the desert of, I was gonna say Monterey, California, but I think I got it pretty much right. And clear skies overall, as you guys can see up on the back of your screens at 9 a.m., which is a very chill morning around California.
Yeah, you say the desert, we're really not that far from the water though, and I hear good things about the aquarium in Monterey Bay. I've never been, but I've heard good things.
Hopes are up. I need to visit that someday whenever I do my West Coast trip down in the US.
Let me see, 4.7 stars from 33,000 reviews, so I think we can trust that for Monterey Bay Aquarium. Getting quick, they close at 5 p.m. today, but the racing is about to open up, and that's what we're here for. I count 28 drivers, 26 with qualifying times, many returning names, a couple of new ones, Craig Vaught, John Gallagher, John Hill. Those are new names to me. What we don't seem to have is the defending champion Ragnar Wisloff for the opening round, so that will be very interesting indeed as they all grid up behind the beautiful Porsche pace car for the formation lap of race 1 of 2. Let's take a look at that grid. The first row, Gerhardus Jorgensen and Paul Stump, with Jorgensen on the left hand lane to give him the inside to the Andretti hairpin on the opening lap. Ulf Olsen and Mike Grandy, row number 2. John Morgan and Eric Block are row number 3, and you'll get an idea of some of the teammates in this field as we look at the liveries as we go through the grid as well. A lot of drivers put a lot of weight into the team's championship and trying to support their friends, trying to work together, practice together to get good consistent results across the championship. Row number 4 is Peter Hallstrom and Richard Coulomb. You can see Marcel Sproining and Mike McCormick 9th and 10th. Bruce Poole and Greg Garris are row number 6. Got Randy Shoemake and Bill Smitham, and then Barry Hills, Jack Turner, Bob Kern and JC Hay to 18th place. And then the last of our qualified drivers are Joel Martin, Gene Moore, Jerry Kerr, John Hill, Douglas Beasley, Eugene Clark, Robert Love and Richard Varley. Like I said, no qualifying times for Craig Vaught and John Gallagher. Not sure Gallagher is taken to the grid, but I'm pretty sure I see Craig Vaught. So we'll have a check on who's there and who's not. But for an opening round of the season, that is a very nice looking grid of 60 plus Indy Pro 2000s. I don't mean there's more than 60 of them. I mean they're Indy Pro 2000s and they're 60 plus.
Absolutely. I think it's one of our largest grids. I think we had when he broadcast with you in the last round at Watkins Glen last season. I think it was brought about 26 cars. So we're right around that number, which is always good to see. A lot of presence for always good to see on round number 1. Still hoping it stays consistent for what it's supposed to be. Like I said before, a very promising championship. And I like the track choices they had for this season for the drivers to take a look at and run around, especially whenever they go into Iowa, which is one of my favorite oval tracks overall, and always provides great fights with these cars.
With a lot of competition in the open wheel cars of late on iRacing, I'm not sure the Indy Pro 2000 is the most loved or everyone's favorite, but you can't argue that Laguna Seca is a very popular track and very free as well, so that should contribute to the number of cars we've got on the grid.
Oh yeah.
Pretty quick formation lap, of course, around this circuit, as it's a pretty short one, and so the pace car soon to pull in before the final corner. How long will Gerhardus Jorgensen keep them waiting before he gets this season, this championship, underway with the first race at Laguna Seca? He's waiting a reasonable time out of the final corner and just preempts the green flag. The top 6, first 3 rows, back to where Peter Hallstrom and Richard Coulomb are, but it's cold tyres for everyone as they steam downhill into the difficult braking zone of the Andretti hairpin. Double apex here, you can often find some grip a little bit wider, a little bit higher out there, but for Ulf Olsen, well, he has gone from the inside up into second. Great start for Gerhardus Jorgensen, and all the squabbling is behind through the infield on the opening lap. Positions being made by Olsen, they're up into second, then also Marcellus Broining from 9th up into 6th. He is being very punchy just in the back of shot here. The drivers keep building tire temperature and keep building confidence.
Yes, now they're going up the rail hall straight in. I think that was Stump that has gone up the track. Unfortunately, just catching too much in in turn, and unfortunately just spin it off. But luckily for him, just staying inside the track, avoiding the wall, and just reminding about himself that to not do that mistake again.
Yeah, following so closely behind Ulf Olsen, Paul Stump in that dirty air through the very, very quick committed corner, slides out of third place and all the way to the very, very back of the field. A race winner last season, not getting his season off to a great start. Some lockups, nearly some contact through the concertina in the final corner for the rest of the field. So tidy opening lap for Gerhardus Jorgensen and Ulf Olsen, and things a little messier behind, and definitely Paul Stump not with the first lap that he would have wanted. Breuning though, really charging through the field. You see him in 4th, having started in 9th. And this is what happened for Stump. He's looking down the inside, he decides against it, he gets in a little bit hot, loses the rear, and out into the gravel he goes. You see the onboard from him.
I think the fact that Olsen might have slowed down a little bit more than anticipated at the entry of the left hand king might have surprised him a little bit. We see another mistake.
Yeah, and I've jinxed Breuning.
Yeah, that's not me. I'm relieved it's not me who actually are jinxing people.
Yeah, car just gets out a little bit wide, half a tyre width, off the pavement, off the curb and into the dirt. Many of us have done that one before, and a great start comes undone. He pressured very hard very early. This is for the race lead though. Oh, Olsen trying to challenge for the lead, feeling pressure from Mike Grandy, and he locks it up, gets a big bite of the sausage curb. Jorgensen retains the lead. Mike Grandy through into 2nd. John Morgan through into a podium position, and there is massive damage on Ulf Olsen's car. He's going to have to park it. The front wings broke, the front left wheel, the suspension is broken, and Ulf Olsen has parked it. 2nd and 3rd from the opening lap, now with big dramas.
Yeah, I was wondering why Jorgensen and Olsen
Got to have been a slowdown
position.
penalty for the leader here. No, they went side by side, and that cost them the time. Brought Mike Grandy and a lot of pressure into this situation.
No, absolutely. Then you can see the everything's done, but then Jorgensen fights back, and then I think might have been just going too much into the inside of the curve, and maybe the car stepped out a little bit. Let's take a quick look just from Grandy perspective. Yeah, the car just locked up fully and went straight nose first into the barrier, and the left hand side clipped in.
Yep, hit the concrete that protects the pit lane. He's hit it from the opposite side. That Romain Grosjean and who else hit that in a Honda Civic?
Does it matter?
It does because it's funny.
Ed Jones. Arjuna says Ed Jones, so our producer corrects us.
Righto. Well, they begin lap 3, and this is your podium. Jorgensen, Grandy, John Morgan, the kind of driver to just always sneak his way into a podium position in this style of racing. Gosh, I hope Mike Grandy's been abiding by US export laws, but he's sandwiched between 1st and 3rd. Eric Block, Richard Coulomb, pretty quick behind them in 4th place as well. In fact, Block might have just set one of the fastest laps of the race. Not as quick as John Morgan, the only driver into the 1:18. How challenging that left-hander is. You sit so low in these cars. It's another one of those corners that you can't really see it until you're all up on it. And then I reckon the top of some of those sausage curbs is the height of your shoulders in a car like this.
Yeah, something like it. And if you catch that sausage curb in the wrong way, if you put a full tire width, even I think 50% tire width is enough to bounce off your car, and by bouncing off your car, you basically lose traction around a corner that demands a lot of traction and aerodynamics, and you're gonna definitely take a ride into the sand and maybe into the wall depending on circumstances.
John Morgan's purple on the graphic now because he's got the fastest lap of the race. There's such a strong slipstream in these cars, even here on a road course like this. You get a good tow in the slipstream, especially uphill on the pit straight and up the hill towards the corkscrew. 2 places where you'll definitely gain tenths for free following in the slipstream of another car. Jorgensen hasn't felt too much of that pressure yet, though he did have to go side by side with Ulf Olsen for half a lap to defend his race lead, and first and second giving a lot of respect to the sausage. John Morgan, though, he's on his line and he had a great run up the hill. So does Peter Holstrom in the yellow submarine. Mark McCormick and Bruce Poole breathing down his neck, though.
Apparently, Randy Shoemake just lost 10th place. He was in 9th and lost to the position to Bill Smitham. So the oval champion just dropping a little bit, but still within the top 10, where I know Randy is kind of probably going to be satisfied to be in at the current moment.
This Indy Pro 2000's the successor to the Pro Mazda, which is actually the successor to the Formula Mazda, and I was looking at a couple of them for sale in the low $15,000, $12,000. So
really?
I want one of those, because they've also got sort of 13B rotary engine in them. Look a lot of fun.
I remember they're one of the last ones, or one of the last ones in terms of the rotary engines, if I remember correctly, because now Mazda is, I know they're not allowed to make any rotary engines for high performance cars like they used to do back in the 90s.
Well, you can see the effect of the slipstream on this pack as they go up the hill. Shoemake on the inside, Greg Garris looking around the outside of the corkscrew. Respect and space given. Such a challenging place to make a pass. Bill Smitham in 9th. Gets away from this group a little bit. And the more I look at Randy Shoemake's livery, the more I think that is a paint scheme to outbreak someone at the corkscrew.
Yeah, he was going to be outbreaked. He's actually going to be, instead of the Ganassi, was going to be, I'm trying to remember, I think it was, I cannot even remember. It's like back in the 1995.
Was Zanardi on Vassar?
It was Zanardi on Vassar, I know this much, but Zanardi was on the outside instead of being on the inside.
Great racing so far, and you can see so many close battle packs, and that's what brings the drivers back season after season to 60+ racing adventures. That even if you're not fighting for that race win, you're fighting to support your teammates in the team's championship. You might be fighting for the Super 70s championship, or just fighting for a top 10, and that's what we've got 6 cars doing, as well as this great 3-way battle simmering for the race lead. Gerhardus Jorgensen settling into his rhythm. Grandy and Morgan settling into theirs as well. Great onboard with John Morgan showing that, yeah, I think all 6 gears do get a use around here. What's happened for Eric Block? Oh, that car doesn't look in a great way at all in the final corner, and he is tumbling down the order as that buzzing pack for 10th place start to swallow him up. Any damage on that car?
From what it looked like on the arm of the car, it looked like it had some slight damage because of the stance of the camber, but no damage at all. Just some. If there's any damage, David Haynes, I'm just gotta say his pride was damaged.
Oof. Yeah, he's definitely back up at speed, but it almost looked like that right rear was out of shape. I wonder if the downshift from second to first might have caught him out there. We saw on board with John Morgan, he was using first gear in the elbow in the final corner, but I wouldn't be surprised if other drivers leave it in second just to be safer, to have less gear shift problems at the bottom of the corkscrew. For Poole and Coulomb, I'm going to imagine, both of them facing the wrong way. Such a dangerous place for that as well.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to know on the replay what happened to both these drivers. Ooh, looks like that Coulomb just before first in the rejoin. Oh, just catching pull on that rejoin just because he lost the complete control of his car because the tires were basically full of sand, so no grip whatsoever.
Yeah, you get some of that sand, you get some of that sand, and of course super bumpy there, and you hate it for Poole.
And it's obviously the trickiest corner of the entirety of the track. Some people would say the final corner is very tricky for you to make that dive bomb like we've seen time and time before. But this one, because you're coming up just of a crest and you're already having to go into the braking zone, and you kind of have to clip the first apex to make the second apex, which is a blind apex, like you said, on the corkscrew. It's a tricky one for you to get that right because the car is already coming off the balance, and because it is off balance of sorts, the brake will slightly lock in if you just press it too hard on the pressure.
Starting a new lap for our leading trio. Grandy might have lost a little bit of ground on that lap, fallen out of a second of the lead, and now clawed it back, and of course brought John Morgan with him. And then, sorry, I decided I'd not hold my mic open while I sneezed. And Randy Shoemake, Greg Garris, Barry Hills, Eric Block, Jack Turner, Bob Kern, Paul Stump, this group here, where the action is, no doubt. You can see.
Was that
Barry
a half
Hills.
spin at the back?
Yes. You can see Garris challenging Shoemake. You can see Barry Hills in the same livery as our leading driver at Gahardis Yorison. So those two trying to maximise their team points haul. Doing well with Yorison out front. Barry Hills is watching one hell of a battle between Shoemake and Garris at the minute. Paul Stump is just really struggling to find consistency with this car at this track, isn't he? He's gone from battling up front to the back of the field, fought his way into the top 10, and then again had a problem. And this, oh dear, the 70 is Ulf Olsen.
Yeah, he's already a lap down, so some slight issues for Olsen. Well, we saw him hitting hard the barrier early on, just clipping too hard the second part of the curb, and no grip, and the car is bouncy, like I said before, and obviously taking it for a spin.
On board with John Morgan. Lots of racing championships around the world that sort of have their little sub-championships. Porsche Carrera Cup Australia with, the outright championship, and then also a Pro-Am championship. And I love that we've got Super 70s nestled inside of 60-plus racing adventures, and it quite a sizable amount of the grid also fall within that as well. So, very often think of sim racing as, well, a young man's game.
Yeah,
but
nowadays.
There has been motor racing for a long time, so there's been passion for motor racing for a long time. There's lots of people out there who fall into this basket and want to keep indulging their passion for racing all their life. This around 10th place section of the race just will not stop, will it? It's just consistently been a glut of cars battling back and forth for position. Paul Stump, we know, massive car speed, trying to fight his way back through the field. He's in 11th now, but he cannot help himself. taking all of the track and then some.
And we're still
Barry Hills goes off the track in front of him and finds the wall at the top of the corkscrew, ends up deep in the runoff there with a lot of damage.
Unfortunate.
Eric Block looking at Randy Shoemake, but this is what happened to Barry Hills with Paul Stump in behind. He's massively outbraked himself. Lost the rear of the car over that little crest. He'd normally be significantly more slowed. He's looking at what's happening in the mirrors behind him, and that appears to have hurt him significantly in race 1. Race 2 has its own qualifying session. It's a blank slate, so you might start thinking about that for Barry Hills. Plenty of dust gets kicked up by Randy Shoemake.
Yeah.
Eric Block has gotten past him, and Paul Stump might be the next to try.
Yeah, and they were trying to, and they managed to catch up to Greg Garrett somehow. As we see the battle for first reignited, as we're gonna go 10 to go here, Mr. David Haynes. So really good battle so far. Of course, a few lucky DNFs and things like that, but that's just the nerves of the first race of the season. Still a long season ahead, more than 20 races left in the calendar. So looking forward to see what they do around the track, as now they're going to turn number 1 again, and that number 12 Haas car just making good work around the Andretti hairpin.
Close that lead gap down to nothing, just half a second to cover all of the top 3, and Mike Grandy starting to put a little bit more pressure on the race leader, on the pole sitter. Best foot forward in this new season 26 of 60 plus racing adventures. Paul Stump shaping up on Shoemake for 9th and 10th. So absolutely a buffet of places to look, and one of those places is Gahardis Jorissen's lost the rear. Mike Grandy's ploughed into him, and who's gone around the outside of both of them? John Morgan. Grandy's facing the right way, Morgan to the lead of the race, and what's the damage for Jorissen? If there is any. Oh, that rear
wing. The wing is damaged.
Nope, that's got a bit of a wobble to it.
Or apparently is the new
collectible bobblehead.
I was gonna say either that or the new Indy NXT or next flexible wing implementations.
Simultaneously, Mike Grandy and Gahardis Jorissen pit to get repairs, and here's what happened. Oh, the car's been unsettled on the bump, hasn't it? The wheels tangle. Morgan has to slot away around the outside, and he takes the race lead, and he's looking at it. You can see Jorissen looking to defend, turns in from a very, very shallow line, almost comes to a complete stop. Isn't it ironic when it's the corkscrew that is the stopper in the bottle?
It's rather ironic, and I come from a place that they do a lot. They use a lot of corkscrew to cork the bottle, and from what it looks like, we saw Jorissen apparently with some wing damage in this car as well, because he's dropped like a rock going from P2 to all the way down to P15. So it's Laguna Seca is just a track like that, man. You have to be consistent all the time, and the tiniest mistakes can undo a lot of your racing, as we see Garris now having to defend from Ben Block. Yep,
indeed, 5th and 6th up the road from them, 5 seconds. Bill Smitham has come from 14th on the grid to 4th, so he's been a big mover. And then you just cannot look away from a battle around 10th place, where Shoemake, Turner, who goes very, very deep in the hairpin. Bob Kern looks to get underneath him, but can't make that work. Gene Moore behind that. Not too far to Mike Grandy either. You can see he's got that car repaired. We know that he's, you know, top 3 pace, and he's got enough laps left to get back inside of that top 10.
Definitely top 10, but if he's want to dream to think the best he might be able to get, I think with 23 seconds, if his pace is 1 second faster per lap, if he's able to make those overtakes, I'd say top, you can actually get into pole stump, but still that would be a pipe dream, and that would be kind of like of a last lap battle if he actually pulls that off at the end of things.
Still thinking about that first versus second gear in the final corner thing. It looked like you could maybe pull the downshift into first too early if you weren't careful. Could also light up the rears very severely in those low gears in this car, particularly about this point in the race. The tyres are designed for, you know, 25-30 minute races, and towards the end they do start to build up too much heat, wear a little bit. They're not a hard endurance tyre. Start to see a lot more angle, a lot more yaw, a lot more slip and slide towards the end of these races. Track temp still very stagnant at that 24 Celsius though.
But I was going to say as well, David, one of the things we have to consider is, like, of course, first gear is going to give you that torque, but at the cost of, like you said, lift up the rears and make the car a little bit more tail happy at the entry of the last curve, as we see Bruce maybe looking for an overtake here on Douglas, as you got to see this coming up quick behind him. But for me, I'm a first gear guy through that corner with this car, because I think you need that torque. Second gear just gives you too much understeer if you just cannot get the corner correctly.
Bruce Poole having a look at Douglas Beasley into the final corner, not somewhere we've seen a great many passes. It definitely put some doubt into the mind for Douglas Beasley about what might be happening in the mirrors though, and there are other places you can look to pass. Down here he's going to look for a different line, lock up a little bit, but cut back to the second apex. And certainly looking teammates to the race leader John Morgan as well. Bruce Poole, both of them with race spot stickers on the engine cover, which is the right place to put them because that's where the horsepower goes, and so the sticker can add the 5 extra horsepower directly into the intake manifold,
giving at least 0.2 of a second boost per lap, of course.
Yep, simple mathematics. It's engineering, it's science.
Hashtag numbers.
Hashtag blame Dane, potentially. That's wide of an apex. Well wide of an apex, but there is a bit of camber to the road there, so I guess you can kind of get away with it more than others. Bit of a snap with the traction off that final corner, kind of like we've been talking about the different ways of approaching it and their positives and negatives respectively.
Let's look for another top 10 battle as Kern try to get closer into Turner right here, and followed by not only Jim Moore but Mike Grandy after the mistake a few laps back, as now Moore takes a step into the sand, and Grandy trying to capitalize and get closer and make that overtake, and apparently he did already.
Yep, Grandy with a better run up the hill, drives through a little bit of the smoke that looks like it might have come from Bob Kern. So easy to lock one of the tyres there, because of course there's no ABS in these cars. In fact, there's very, very few sort of single-seaters that do have ABS now that I try to think about it. Up front, ahead of them, side by side through the final corner, and Jack Turner gets through on Randy Shoemaker, I think. Mike Grandy gets a good drive off the corner there and gets past Bob Kern. Now Shoemaker looking to maybe try to take one back. Grandy super bold on the brakes. He knows that all of his wings and suspension are in the right place, having had to get them replaced mid-race. And he's back inside of that top 10.
Yeah, nice move from Granny right there. I think Shoemaker saw that dive coming from a mile away and not only missing the corner, but gave space to Granny to make that move and playing the smart game. You know, if you are right on the verge of the top 10 or even top 12, you get some solid points to accrue to your road profile in this championship. And Randy, like as a defending oval champion at the 60 plus adventure, so he's looking towards other stuff as Stump has another mistake.
Paul Stump is going to have to sign the outfield there post-race because this time he's turned in too early, bitten the sausage, and the sausage has bitten back. And you've almost got to worry about getting damage from striking that way.
That is not a very nice sound. There's a twomp, not a stump. Stump down and unfortunately getting stumped on by the track. David is baffled by my puns. I apologize to everyone in the broadcast.
Thoroughly baffled. Morgan leading the way. Handy little gap he's got as well. He's always super consistent and a little risk averse though, and so as they fell away in front of him, first and second place unfortunately tangling at the corkscrew, he's inherited a nice little race lead and then continued to build it ahead of second and third. What we are finding though around this 82nd lap is you get a little bit more traffic than you would at Road America, and definitely a little more lap traffic than they're going to get at the Nordschleife when we next bring you live coverage on RaceSpotTV. Morgan in the 177. Can see him working his way towards turn 7 and see that there's 3 cars just in front of where he is, and it's not difficult to spot where 10th place is on that graphic making its way through the Andretti hairpin, because that's a pretty solid cluster of microbes in the petri dish that is the Laguna Seca graphic.
Yeah, looking crisp for everyone and a good gap between Shoemaker and Moore. 1 second separates, but now Moore with submissions apparently as Stump makes the overtake around the outside. They pulled that off, David.
The puns abound here, and Jim Moore backs out, gives Paul Stump a good line through that corner, but immediately puts him onto the back foot as John Gill, I think it is, ranges up into this battle from 22nd on the grid. So actually one of the last qualified drivers. He's kept his nose clean so far, a name that hasn't been on our lips, now in the battle for 10th. Well and truly just a second behind Shoemaker, who occupies that 10th place. Paul Stump looking to challenge him as they start the final lap.
And I think this is the first time I've seen Rennie to be a little bit more aggressive with the defending, staying right in the middle of the lane, you know, just trying to block both paths for some to make that overtake. As we see Poole into the pit, Bruce Poole into the pit lane on our graphics here, Rennie. But the door now opens up for Stump to make that overtake, and let's see how it happens.
So to make your mark on the new season, this is a way to do it. John Morgan, defending Super 70s champion, is going to be the overall champion with one race won. He takes the win at Laguna Seca, but there is a lot of positions still to be decided behind him. The podium locked in with McCormick and Hellstrom, but here is 10th place, and the blowtorch is on Randy Shoemaker's Paul Stump. He's definitely going to have a go in the final corner. Not far behind them, Gene Moore and John Hill ready to pick up any of the pieces. Here's Stump down the inside, taking the apex. Can he get the drive to the line? He can. In the background, Gene Moore is just going to hold off John Hill, and 10th place was never a boring position. But what happened to Shoemaker?
Slow down.
Where did he pick up a slowdown?
You can get a slowdown of the corkscrew and
carried it all the way then.
Yeah.
Wow, losing 4 positions between the final corner and the checkered flag for Randy Shoemaker, as he might have overdone the corkscrew that lap. A couple of other cars still to take the checkered flag. Joel Martin, Richard Coulomb, Bruce Poole, and JC Hay of Club Ohio. Looks like he's going to be the last to take the checkered flag. My oh my, what an interesting way to kick off the new season. Let's take a look at the results as and when we can. JC Hay might be just limping that one around on this final lap. He's just managed to avoid going a lap down. I think he's towed on the last lap, but that's not going to matter because everyone else was a full lap down to the lead and wasn't able to pass him anyway.
Nice backdrop.
This or Sonoma?
Oh, this beats Sonoma. I know you're Sonoma sort of a lover, David, but I prefer this.
Sonoma's got a wine train. This doesn't have a wine train.
Debatable still.
Results then. John Morgan from 5th on the grid ends up taking the win in the opening race. 23 laps of Laguna Seca. He's joined by Mike McCormick and Peter Hellstrom on the podium. Then Bill Smitham, 10 positions gained in this one as he came from outside of the top 10 to a very, very respectable 4th place. Greg Garris, likewise, from that it would have been, trying to do numbers, outside of the top 10 to come to 5th. Eric Block, Jack Turner, Mike Grandy, Bob Kern, and Paul Stump complete the top 10. A big what could have been for Paul Stump as he had massive car pace, but also a little error prone. Can he tidy it all up in the coming race too? Got Gene Moore, John Hill, Randy Shoemaker, Douglas Beasley, Gahardis Yorison, Joel Martin, Richard Coulomb, Richard Varley, Bruce Poole, Robert Love to complete the top 20. It's a little confusing here. Craig Vaught, 21st. JC Hay scored the first car off the lead lap, but he was on the lead lap, but then towed on the last lap. I don't know. But 22nd ahead of Barry Hills, Ulf Olsen, Jerry Kerr, Eugene Clark, Marcellus Bruning, and John Gallagher, the only driver that didn't take the start of the race. Best I can tell. Well, our race winner is gonna join us now. John Morgan doesn't feel like that long since we spoke last, but it's a new season, it's a new start, and you have bloomed the brightest.
Yeah, it's always good to start the season with a win. This track seems to reward patience, which I seem to be able to do. So I was kind of lucky here.
TV always looks like there's more visibility than there is from the driver's seat, especially corners like sort of turn 7 underneath the bridge where the track drops away, and of course the corkscrew. You certainly had one interesting lap through the corkscrew.
Yes, when I saw Mike kind of get close to Gahardis, I backed off just a little bit because it's just too easy to push a little too hard going in there, and things happen. So I gave myself enough room to sort of almost come to a stop and then go around the outside, and so it worked out.
Would you at all attribute your ability to sense danger before it happens for your longevity to being a Super 70?
I think so. I mean, I think experience. This is our 26th season, so we're going on 6+ years of this, and I've been here from the beginning. And it is, you kind of learn. I did at least learn to be patient, because every once in a while as they say, sometimes the red mist will get a guy and he'll push just a little bit beyond that point where you end up in trouble. And so I was just sitting there and figured I'd wait until the last 5 or 6 laps, and if everything was still the same, then I'd push and try to get past Mike. But they both were driving pretty well up till that point, so I was pretty happy sitting where I was.
Now, John, have I got this right? Bruce Poole, your teammate this season?
Yes, sir. Bruce and I joined up last season because both of our prior teammates had quit racing, so we did pretty well. I think we finished 3rd or 4th last year, and Bruce did the paint job for our cars, so he always does a nice job with that. So yeah, new teammate, new season.
You put a RaceSpot sticker on. I reckon that's good luck for you. He didn't get the good luck. So as far as the team championship goes, you guys going to have maybe a chat before race 2 and see what worked, what didn't?
Probably not. I mean, we pretty much race on our own. If we get close, we're certainly aware of the fact that we're teammates. But like everybody, you have an up and down race. Bruce will come back in the second race and give us a good result.
Well, congrats, John, and go well in race number 2.
Thank you, sir.
We might also have second place man Mike McCormick here, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Well, congratulations on second place, because I was looking at the last season when you guys raced around here. You catch 6th place at the first race, so definitely I think that's an improvement, given the fact that there was a very convoluted race to start. Mike, do we have you? And apparently we do not have for the time being, David.
Well, we tried for a mic check and didn't get one, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Well, that's race 1, and race 2 still to come. And of course, looking at all of our rounds through this 12-round calendar, you'll see us next for RaceSpot at the Nordschleifer, and then of course for the decider at Alton Park. Certainly an interesting mix of tracks. You've got the new Manicourt in there, Lorenzo, and what else have we got? Long Beach certainly to be a challenging one, and I think they've sort of, in line with the official series, maybe gone down from 3 oval rounds per season to maybe 2.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm at least happy the ovals that are very good to contend with these cars. Iowa is a very good track, a 1 mile track basically, so these cars can fight it out tooth to nail. They might have to only be mindful of the draft that car generates, but other than that, it's pretty much clean slate. And then going to Gateway, I love Gateway with these cars. Commentated multiple races with this, and the rest of the season are very, very smooth sailing. With many of the tracks being highly technical and will demand a lot of the driver's attention for them to survive on track and getting good spots. For example, like Long Beach.
Gateway seems pretty cool. I used to have a teammate who owned a donut shop in that area.
Nice.
On the Illinois side of the river there. And I've never got to go, but one day I'll get out there for some racing and a donut. And it won't be too long until our drivers get back out for more racing, race number 2. But until that time, a little break here on RaceSpotTV, and coverage will resume for qualifying and race number 2. It's round 1 of the new season, season 26 of 60+ racing adventures here on RaceSpotTV. Stick with us, stick around, more racing to come. Ready for race 2 of this opening round of a new season of 60 Plus Racing Adventures Season 26, kicking it all off from Raceway Laguna Seca. Well, what an interesting battle and tussle it was, back and forth, with eventually John Morgan coming away with the race win in the opening race. But it's a brand new, clean slate for race number 2, qualifying underway right now to set a new grid. All the errors of the past are behind us now. We'll take everything you learned in race number 1 and put it towards qualifying, and then the race of race number 2. So David Haynes and Lorenzo Bond are with you here on RaceSpot for coverage, and looks like everyone just getting into their first flying lap. And we're on board with Russ Addy.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of Russ in the first race. I'm trying to remember, we haven't seen him at all. But anyway, let's see what one of the championships, one of the former back-to-back championships that was before Ragnar Vislov actually took over the road side, is going to do around the track.
So for Russ Addy in the 111, no purple sectors. Those belong to John Morgan and Paul Stump at the moment. Definitely we know Paul Stump had one lap pace. Cooney string it all together. For Russ Addy, a line that points very much at the first apex rather than opening it up. But again, with 2 laps, 2 opportunities, you don't want to throw it away on your first lap like Joel Martin just has with a little mistake. Russ Addy also turns in a little early to the final corner, using first gear, so not sacrificing his first lap to set up the second one. First times hit the board, Morgan at the top, running Smitham Coolham. Russ Addy, his lap time does count. Quickly drops down towards 8th as Olsen goes through into the 3rd place. Paul Stump 2nd. Garrison car number 10, no time yet for him. He's got an even bigger race spot sticker, so I don't know how we're going to apportion the horsepower from that one. He goes 3rd from the opening volley.
I was gonna say, I think we need like a race bus sticker by horsepower measurement. I think in the future for us to get a proper reality of how much horsepower the sticker will bring to you. So Jorgensen's gonna wrap up his lap, and Morgan this time putting up a clinic on everybody else. The closest one only 0.6 of a second behind, which is crazy to think about.
Morgan's flying again. Paul Stump not drastically improving. We know Gahardis Jorgensen pulled something special out late in the qualifying last time. Morgan, just a little bit of improvement. More times coming in, not yet displacing John Morgan from the top. Paul Stump though, he's going to come towards the line. And he goes to 4th. Doesn't trouble that. Greg Garris isn't going to trouble the pole time as he kicks it out sideways in the penultimate corner. Peter Holstrom tidy out the final corner with a reasonably long run until you get to the timing line, the checkered flag there. Holstrom's going to go from 14th to 9th. Gahardis Jorgensen is definitely the driver, I think, with the most opportunity to pull a rabbit out of the hat late on in this qualifying session.
if anybody has a beating time at all, might have been yours. He had the 33. Actually backs
he's in
out.
pit lane. I think he's... I don't know what's going on for Gerhardus Jorgensen, but he's not going to take pole.
Interesting. There's a few cars around the track, but I don't know if there's any cars that, let's just say, pace-wise, would be able to challenge Morgan to take off the crown in the second race. And Morgan looked like he's aiming for a back-to-back win here. He had the chance last time he ran, a few seasons back, but it got third place as Donald Poole won the second race instead of him.
Eugene Clark's first lap takes him to 24th place, and he's still got another opportunity to find some time and grab another spot. Gene Moore on a second flying lap as well, and he definitely didn't look slow in race number 1, definitely battled for a top 10, so there's still a few drivers that could improve. Clark swings 5th at the moment, gains time so far on his lap.
But it looks like the previous corner wasn't the fastest one over here, and this one looks like to be very conservative as well, David. So not a pole position time, but it definitely might be an improvement.
Yeah, looking at many sectors, he's through 3 of 5 of them, with one of them being a personal best, another personal best, and you can see definitely placed well in the penultimate corner there, braking in a straight line for the final corner, late downshift into first gear, straightening the steering wheel before getting too much power, and then straight towards where Barney has the checkered flag for Eugene Clark. And I think he stays in that same spot. But he did improve his lap overall, even if only by a smidge. So that builds confidence going through into the race. Couple of drivers on track still just putting around for practice. Then Mike McCormick and Peter Hallstrom. Also Russ Addy and Randy Shoemake apparently. So actually the teammates of McCormick and Addy both wanted to put their best foot forward in this second race. I don't think we saw much of Addy in race 1.
If at all.
Now you got McCormick in the 99 and Shoemake in the 111, and my brain wants to say those two numbers add together to 200, but they don't.
No, that was, you nearly got into the trap. If that was 89, then yes.
Just like 77 plus 33 should equal 100, but it doesn't. In my brain it should.
No, but
the 33. John Morgan's the 177. And Richard Varley's the 69, which is nice.
Wicked. But that's a good reason why they should never trust the commentators, Matt. You know, it's like, if we're saying there's 90% of suspicion, well, whichever number that we throw out on the track or something like that. If we say 6, most likely it's going to be 7. If it's going to be 4, it's going to be 5. If it is 1 plus 1 equals 2, it's probably going to be 3, even though the right answer is going to be ours. Or is it? Question mark.
Right answer was actually an owl, because they can fly silently. We had the question all wrong. It wasn't a maths problem.
Ooh, that alright, makes... You're right there, yeah.
Checkered flag on qualifying, and it locks in our starting grid for race 2, which is going to be John Morgan and Mike McCormick on the front row. Improved qualifying for a buoyant John Morgan, Marcellus Bruining and Paul Stump. Stump definitely looking to keep it tidy in this second race. No one doubts the speed, but early mistakes certainly cost him a good result in race number 1. And Bill Smitham moved through the field a lot in race number 1. He now qualifies well for race number 2, sharing row 3 with Ulf Olsen. Behind Jack Turner and Mike Grandy, then Peter Hallstrom, who we saw plenty of in that qualifying session. He's 9th, sharing row 5 with Greg Garris. Richard Coulomb and Bob Kern are row number 6, and then Barry Hills, Bruce Poole, teammates together, but a little further back on the grid than they might have expected with Russ Addy and Randy Shoemake. And then Richard Valley, Gerhardus Johnson. Got to work out who's actually teammates with whom, because McCormick, Addy, and Shoemake all have the same livery. So there might be like an A team and a B team going on there. I got Gene Moore, John Hill, Joel Martin, JC Hay, Douglas Beasley, Franz Josef Stum, Eugene Clark, Franz Brink, Robert Love, Craig Vaught, Jerry Kerr. The graphic only shows the 25th, where Eugene Clark was the last driver with a qualifying time. We still might have Franz Brink, Robert Love, Craig Vaught, or Jerry Kerr. We do. We got all of them.
On my timing screen, I see 29 cars, so all of them are ending right now. Which is always good. We always like more cars. We always like more cars in the grid. More the merrier.
Roberto Merri is racing S5000 in Australia this year, but it's only a 10-car grid, so it's not more, but it is merrier.
Yeah, and it's quite unfortunate. I like those 5,000 cars, man. It's like I know Rubens done that a couple of years ago, and I took a liking upon hearing those cars and seeing how fun they are to drive. So it's just in cars. It's kind of like Pietro Fittipaldi doing the V8 World Series, where there were only 8 cars. It's not a lot of cars in the grid, but I don't know how fun it's gonna be with low cars. Anyway,
They're not coming to Queensland this year, which is a great disappointment and a gross infringement on my rights. Sort of 2/3 of the way around this formation lap, what will be a 1 lap shorter race number 2. I had it right. Whoever said otherwise was wrong. Randy Shoemake did run out of fuel between the final corner and the checkered flag, and some others might have gotten close. In fact, I bet that's what happened to JC Hay, as he had a very, very, very slow final lap. Through the final corner they go. Pace car is in. John Morgan doesn't leave them waiting too long. The green flag drops and we are underway. Half of the field still negotiating the final corner. John Morgan leading the field towards turn number 1, and I see a great start from Bruining, from Bill Smitham. McCormick trying to outbrake around the outside of the Andretti hairpin, but tyres are still cold all the way through the field. For John Morgan, that's a pretty ideal start so far.
and I done that, David. I pulled the amazing whammy of the problems that we normally commentators do, but no major jumps from anybody so far at the start of going into the Andretti hairpin. But so far it's clean for everybody as we now climb up the hill.
Oh, Hallstrom gets so much curb, big checkup, a couple drivers come together, Coulomb, Hallstrom, and one of the Anglo-Dutch cars. So apparently Barry Hills, but Peter Hallstrom's now facing the wrong way between turn 7 and the corkscrew. And it all started with that unsided corner catching some of the sausage curb, and it was a very, very spicy sausage indeed in the midfield. Could have been a much bigger incident than it ended up being. First lap completed, John Morgan retains the lead. Mike McCormick retains second. Behind them though, Breuning being sized up by a fast-charging Bill Smitham. Made 10 positions in race number 1. Mathematically can't make 10 in race number 2. He's qualified much stronger. So maybe looking at a podium. Paul Stump right with them in 5th. Let's try to take a look at Holstrom. It starts here. He's too wide on a very shallow line on the inside. Cops the curb. It's hit once behind, and then the squeeze up the hill. Wheels entangled. Not a good couple hundred meters for the teammates of Yorison and Hills.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate. Wondering how much damage there is to the car, as though this Beasley goes too deep into the Andretti hairpin. Try to come back into the corner, but there was no grip in the rears for that car, and nearly makes contact with the oncoming cars. And JC Hay, problem zone, turn number 4. 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, turn number 5. I don't know how to count.
It's okay. Neither does anyone who dishes out the corner numbers for American road racing courses.
No, that's true.
Road America, Road Atlanta, maybe even here.
What about Virginia?
VIR has corner names for every corner. Aboard with Grandy in 7th place. He's got a good view of all that's transpiring in front with Ulf Olsen, Paul Stump, Bill Smitham. Grandy was tracking for a podium, maybe even a race win in race number 1. And came undone at the corkscrew. He's up behind Olsen, and Smitham and Stump battled back and forth just a tad in the infield on that lap. Smitham still looking to try to move forward if he can.
Still made quick work of Smitham going around turn number 5 there, and just cleared out some gap from Smitham, and basically left the problem to Olsen to get closer. Not only Olsen, but Grandy and Turner and everybody else behind following close. The number 55 had made that overtake.
Bruce Poole for the second race in a row to the pit lane to try to get his car repaired. Once again, his teammate John Morgan leads the way out front. Olsen having a dive in an unexpected place at all for Bill Smitham. It might all be coming undone pretty quickly as he got damage as a host of other cars go through on him. Ulf Olsen, Mike Grandy gains some position through all that. Jack Turner goes through as well. Garris through on Smitham as he tries to get back to speed. So for Grandy, very opportunistic there. Olsen had a dive, and then he's passed 2 at once, and now Grandy's up into 5th.
Yeah, I really want to see what happened between Olsen and Smitham right there, because from what it looks like, Smitham was coming back on the track right behind the back wing of Olsen, and might have gotten some slight contact. And you can see Smitham dropping like a rock right here, David. And let's see the replay. Oh, okay. So it was a little bit more, not egregious, but more nifty than I expected. And you can see that left hand side of the car, no, sorry, the right hand side of the car a little bit more compressed than what should have been.
So Smith went to pit lane. He definitely got sandwiched there. Gene Moore easy to spot in his Jimmy Broadbent impersonator paint scheme. Likewise, easy to spot. So he goes along with Marcellus Breuning, ranging in on a podium position. John Morgan's race lead out to almost 3 seconds. McCormick potentially losing a little bit of time on this lap so far. Breuning and Stump have caught him. And Morgan has gotten away. Through the corkscrew we go, and we're not looking from the driver's eye line, we're looking from a little bit higher than that. We see more than they do in a corner like that.
Yeah, but unless his FOV is kind of like set up to be like you are a 9'10" driver, then you can actually see the apex coming from a mile away. You know, you can do that.
You couldn't possibly take seriously an e-sport where you're allowed to drive from the T-cam view, could you?
No, not at all.
No, me neither, to be honest. Okay, on board with Stump still. I'm one step closer to my elitism scout badge with that one. Ooh, closing up as the slipstream tends to do on these cars on second, third and fourth. Stump with a great run and never want to hesitate and wait too many corners to try to make a move.
If you're Bruni right here, do you give way to Stump?
No.
I mean, I'm just thinking back from the... actually, I thought the wings were going to be pretty much similar, but no, not quite. They're different. One is has a Valvoline sponsorship, and one has by Lente sponsorship. Okay, carry on. And I'm using glasses, which makes this much more that for me.
Hashtag blame Lorenzo.
I'm just gonna deflect that and say hashtag blame Dane.
Yeah, no, fair enough, actually. We can all agree he eats pizza here.
Yep.
3-second lead for John Morgan, and when he gets that kind of release of pressure on him, he's such a consistent driver, even if we don't always rate him as the absolute fastest or the bravest or the daringest or the most challenging. He's got enough time in his pocket to be super consistent when occasionally little mistakes from other drivers sort of cost them half a second here, half a second there. So, Groening, Stump, second, third and fourth. What happened to our Magnet in 10th place? Because the field's a little bit more spread out there, but there are a couple of battle packs deep in the fields with Jorison Valley, Sturm, Hill and others. This would be that one. Johannes Jorison. So quick in qualifying for race number 1, and we saw him lose out time positions on the opening lap when Peter Hallstrom blocked his way at about this part of the circuit.
A little bit slower than usual, but might just be my perspective. Stump.
Stump into a podium position as he goes down the inside of Marcellus Groening at the Andretti hairpin that I want to call turn 1, but apparently isn't, because turn 1 is a kink across the top of the hill, and technically that's turn 2 if you believe them. But a good move by Stump in all times. And see, there he goes. Groening did leave that wide open.
Yeah, just playing it safe, you know. Just he knows again he's in the top 5, not gonna first the car. Probably knows that Stump made a few mistakes around the track, made 3 mistakes, so he could capitalize on maybe Stump faltering again to the same mistakes, as now the number 54 is on the charge to get that McCormick number 99 right in front of him, which separates them a lot. And Morgan apparently doesn't even care about it because he opened up 2 seconds on all of those guys.
Super quick lap times last time around from McCormick and Stump. You can see Paul Stump has the fastest lap of the race right now, still lapping in the 1:18s. McCormick very wide. Now they're side by side for second place, but McCormick will still hold the inside into the sequence of right-handers coming up, and Stump, not a patient man today, runs a little bit wide and maybe squanders a little opportunity.
I'm wondering if this is opening up maybe a possible door for Grandy to come in and maybe join the streetcar fight right here, because he's not, despite being 3 seconds back or 4 seconds back, more or less. All it takes around the Laguna Seca is 1 or 2 fights and you're back in it if you guys basically bunch up and lose some ground. Because if you see, just because they were in side by side on turn number 2, David, they basically lost a full second to Paul Morgan as they opened up the lap number 10, and makes things much more tricky for the number 54 to have any dreams of maybe closing down on the 177 and fight for the top of the line finish right here. But still a lot of race to go, but I think something's driving a little bit with some sense of lap desperation. I'm going to say time desperation because we're lap based.
Two gear ratio options for this car, and I'm just looking from this onboard view at them. I think the shorter gears only makes 4th, 5th, 6th shorter. And that looks like what we've got here, whereas sometimes we, in these cars, kind of almost get to the top of 6th gear in a slipstream at the faster circuits like Spa and Watkins Glen, even with the taller gear stack in use. So definitely get all the way up and down through the gearbox around here at Laguna Seca, maybe even 1st gear here in the final corner, and 5th and even 6th getting a workout. This is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th position. And they're just still hovering 3 seconds back off Mr. Super 70s, Mr. Super Consistent, John Morgan.
And both of them were lap, actually slightly faster than Morgan on the previous lap, but still not enough for them to close down any real gap to be within shafting range of the number 177. So I think the job is going to be basically putting the pressure on the shoulders of Stump, make that overtake, try to clear himself as fast as possible, and then get to Morgan. Well, what I would say, maybe with 4 or 5 to go, if he's actually lucky to get that close with that little gap in the race lap.
Super wide through turn 7 for Mike McCormick, and it's cost him. He's immediately on the defensive. Paul Stump doesn't like to wait. He tries to mount an attack at the corkscrew, and it doesn't work out. It suggests that maybe McCormick's starting to feel a little bit of the pressure here.
Feeling a little bit comfortable in his spot. Thought he would actually lose ground on this draft train as he looks for an overtake.
Wide towards the dust, towards the marbles for Paul Stump. He can pick up some good traction from the wide line there, leaving the corner, very oval style, and he does to defend that 3rd position. It's all action just behind these guys as well, with Grandy in 5th, Olsen in 6th, and Jack Turner, Greg Garris, Russ Addy. Addy moving some positions up through the field so far as well. So he's now ranging in on Greg Garris, having already made 6 passes so far in this race.
Good recovery from qualifying from Russ as he's getting closer and closer. But the thing is, and I think we haven't mentioned this before. If we did, I probably have forgotten that Laguna Seca is not one of the easiest tracks for you to pass, and we've seen that time and time again. You can be side by side, maybe for 1, 2, maybe 3 corners at best, and still not make that overtake stick at the end of the race. Despite the majority of the corners being nearly to 90 degrees in terms of radius, and it complicates things of having cars side by side. Stump goes up.
Yeah, Stump's looking around the outside of Mike McCormick here. McCormick still has his nose in front as we approach the super committed corner, and McCormick again runs it a little bit wide. Stump looks for the inside at the corkscrew, and now he's in front and into second place.
Yeah, smart because he kind of yielded the car, lost a little bit of ground on catching that width of the car on the the right hand front into the sand, lost some grip, lost some momentum, and saw the threat of Stump coming over his back wing, and he thought, okay, let me just lift up the car, lose maybe this position for the time being, just remain in the draft, that's competitive, and who knows, maybe Stump can do the job of being the hare and catch Paul Morgan with those final laps and engage in into a top 3 battle between 4 cars in a very California way of musical chairs.
Running next to apply the blowtorch to Mike McCormick. Wasn't going to get through there, but he was going to make it look like he was going to try. Keeps it in bounds, and this lap it's Bruning who almost runs it wide and into the dirt on the exit of 7. The problem with that is the track just kind of keeps turning a little bit to the left, and so you go out wider and the track curves away from you, and you can end up with just a little mistake a long way off the circuit and losing a lot of time. With Olsen on Mike Grandy over 5th and 6th place. Olsen looking down the inside, locking up, almost outbraking himself, almost helping Mike Grandy off the circuit, and the two of them interlock and end up in the wall on the exit of the Andretti hairpin. Olsen not leaving a great amount of space. Grandy, that car is toast from what I can see. That is not going to turn at all.
No, not one bit. The front right is completely borked, and we're going to see on the replay the dive coming in from Olsen into turn number 1, locks up everything, stays side by side here. David Owens to come back into the track. Olsen kind of like merging from what it looks like on Grandy's lane, and Grandy's couldn't do anything other than, I'm just going to stay over here on my lane. If he dies, he dies, and unfortunately he took away Grandy as well, so both of them are dead.
Elsewhere, this is Jack Turner and Russ Addy. Addy had been shaping it up and up the hill. Gets the position and now finds himself in 5th after Grandy and Olsen drop away. Olsen doesn't seem to have quite as much damage, but he's had to pit anyway. Bob Kern goes past him. Steerable for Olsen, but obviously not quick. Whereas Mike Grandy, obviously the front left wheel and the front right wheel, we're not speaking the same language.
Maybe front left for Olsen, maybe front right for Grandy. I don't know. I've been trying to make the best use of my glasses, and I say, like, whenever with my glasses I'm watching on HD, maybe I'm watching SD today, unfortunately, but then again, it could be a part or anyway. Jorgensen trying to bounce back from a very scrappy race to the very least right now. Promising, but unfortunately all going wrong. Yes, Addy's battling for position.
Yeah, Jack Turner wants some of it back from Russ Addy. Addy will defends it. Getting more towards the tail end of this second race with 6 laps to go. So if you've got some defensive karate moves, now's the time for them. You can see Greg Garris behind, getting a little closer to this as well as Addy and Turner continue to fight. It helps him out.
Looking as well on the board, gap between McCormick and Bruni is going up and down like a roller coaster as P3 could be reignited into another battle once again.
Good on board with McCormick, and he doesn't see any need for first gear in the final corner. Does he see any need for 6th gear? No, not quite. So there's every chance that that doesn't get used around a lap here. There's a couple of iRacing cars that have gears that don't get used. How about 7th on the BMW M4 GT4, or I think 6th on the Mustang FR500S.
You could see
5th on the Pontiac Solstice.
Any gears on the Pontiac Solstice are basically useless. I'm sorry, I just got bones if it was Solstice anyway. Also 6th gear on the Audi R18, if I remember correctly, it was basically useless. Unless you were at Le Mans. Even at Le Mans sometimes.
Still no use for first from McCormick. He's hunting a podium. Addy's gone wide in the final corner. Jack Turner is going to shape him up. McCormick and Breuning not giving up in their battle of a 3rd and 4th. Cars getting more tail happy as they get towards the end of the race. McCormick out in the dust.
Talk about track usage.
Yeah, is there an incident limit? There is, it's 17. Don't be doing that too often.
Yeah, and it's here for you to pick up one off tracks. Oh, okay, back to you, David, as this got more closer than expected. But yeah, you can get lots of off tracks over here pretty easily.
Certainly can. Locked break or two for Mike McCormick. He's starting to give it all in this battle for a podium with Breuning. Seeing Paul Stump 2 seconds ahead of them. Not able to make any inroads into a little cushion John Morgan has had since pretty much lap 2 of 3 seconds or so. McCormick looking for a wide entry. Breuning a little cautious of what Eugene Clark is doing. He runs it just a little wide. Now into the corner that was McCormick's under, and last time. You gotta be so careful. With that much steering lock on, if you touch the dirt, you will spin out, maybe find the inside wall. Gotta have some level of caution. Cars so light over the first crest and then gripping up as they land into the second apex. The corkscrew, one of the things that make it such a challenging corner. Jack Turner, Russ Addy, Greg Garris all fighting a little bit. Turner back past Addy. Those two have swapped back and forth a few times so far in this race, and they're going to have to settle it once and for all with just 2 laps left as they cross the line now for those drivers. Race leader John Morgan obviously a little further around.
And Russ was actually looking for an overtake right there, but couldn't capitalize. And Gary is having a little bit of a run, nearly going into the stand on the outside of the Andretti hairpin. Lost a lot of ground to both cars, and now he's going to have to rely on missing either of those drivers to get closer. As we're on crunch time right now, and that's why we want to see drama and good action between all cars.
Super close, neither of them wanting to clip the curb at the apex, neither of them wanting to run wide. The line down the inside closed off to Russ Addy, who thought he had a good enough run up the hill to maybe give it a go. There's a couple of little kinks there, and you've got to show your nose early if you're going to get to the inside at the corkscrew, or brake stupid deep, and no one is doing that. John Morgan has started the final lap of the race, still leading 3 seconds to Paul Stump. Decent turnaround for him so far in that second place after a tough race one. Broining, no pressure on him for third at the moment. Still well out of the way was someone.
That would look like Goyes.
Yeah, it would have been Gerhardus Jorgensen. Here's the race leader looking at just a little bit of traffic, but nothing too much.
Finally getting the double whammy. Laguna Seca can get that 7 months ago. Getting over here as we look back quickly into that P5 battle between Addy and Turner, as Addy's going to have at least 1 or 2 more moves to do over here.
To the corkscrew, it can't wait another opportunity around the outside. Has he braked too late? No, just perfect. And on the final lap, Ross Addy moves up into 5th place, but John Morgan gets the broom out. He sweeps the opening round of 60 Plus Racing Adventures from Laguna Seca, dropping about a second on the final lap there to Paul Stump. He was absolutely flying, but once Morgan was out and away, there was no catching him. Marcellus Broining completes the podium, and Addy just needs a clean end to his lap to finish 5th. Elsewhere, his teammate Randy Shoemaker under pressure from Ulf Olsen in the final spot in the top 10.
And Shoemaker's probably getting on the back of his mind shades of what happened to him last race when we lost 4th position because of fuel. This time he's probably going to defend the inside because he has fuel going on, and Olsen not going to make that dive, and probably Shoemaker is going to retain that P10 spot, but it's going to be close.
Well, Olsen's got the short run to the line, but it has just come up in time to save Randy Shoemaker and give him a top 10. What about here? Ooh, I just reckon the 55 of Bill Smitham's got that one from John Hill. Franz Josef Sturm right behind them. Like his teammates. Did you see the timing screen jump around at all in the top 10? As if anyone crossed the line carrying a slowdown penalty, or have I just been imagining? Am I imagining things?
Maybe. I did see, I think the only thing I saw was actually, I was going to say it's minimal hill, but that's pretty much it.
Nope, I think it was me imagining things. Of course, it is a very, very, very hefty penalty if you finish the race without clearing the slowdown penalty for a course cut. That's a lesson you learn painfully once and carry with you. John Morgan, winner from Paul Stump, podium completed by Marcellus Broining. Mike McCormick in 4th. Russ Addy from 15th on the grid to 5th place. Not bad for him at all. Ahead of Jack Turner, Greg Garris, Bob Kern, Richard Coulomb, rather anonymous inside of the top 10 in race number 2, but a good result for him. And the top 10 completed by Randy Shoemaker, who just held on from Ulf Olsen. Then there was Barry Hills, Bill Smitham, John Hill, Franz Josef Sturm, Craig Vaught, Bruce Poole, Eugene Clark, Peter Hellstrom. Craig Vaught had no qualifying time, and he finishes on the lead lap still. Beasley was the first driver off the lead lap, and then really tough race for Gerhardus Jorgensen in 21st, who showed immense speed at points in this car at Laguna Seca and just didn't really get it all together in the end. Similar for Mike Grandy, I guess, and then Joel Martin, Gene Moore, JC Hay, Robert Love, Richard Varley. Retirements for France Brink and Jerry Kerr. Well, Lorenzo, I spoke to him after race number 1, so he's probably sick of me. You have race 2 winner, John Morgan.
Alright. So, John, third last time you actually went around here in race number 2, but this time pulling a double whammy. I think you should be happy with this result so far.
Yeah, absolutely. To start the season with a couple of wins like that, and taking pole and leading the most laps, and it was nice and smooth. I got a little bit of a gap and then just hung on. I knew that if Mike or Paul, sort of got a free run, that they would probably gain on me some. So I just kept a watch on the gap and drove as conservative as I could and keep it. So.
That's nice to see. And just out of curiosity, is there any race in the calendar that you're looking for the most? Because we mentioned in the broadcast, it is a very mix up of short tracks, highly technical, that you might have to be up on your toes to keep it safe around the barriers and maybe have a good result. But with the ovals as well being Gateway in Iowa, is there anything that's catching your eye?
It's weird, but the two that I'll look forward to the most are Nordschleife and Long Beach. They're both good tracks for me, so I look forward to those. Looking forward to getting on, Magny Cours, which we haven't raced, and I think Hockenheim's on the schedule. We tried to move our schedule to give the European guys a little bit of love, because the official series is kind of going more USA centered, and it's kind of a shame not to drive all the great tracks we have.
Yeah, fair point. And John, all I have to say is congratulations on the double whammy. Can't to see what's you'll pull off the remainder of the season, and we'll see you in Iowa.
Thank you, sir.
Well, there we had him, double race winner John Morgan, starting a new season of 60-plus racing adventures in perfect form and looking good doing it too. The reigning multiple time Super 70s champion, now your outright leader after the first of 12 rounds of 60-plus racing adventures. That's all from Laguna Seca and all for Race Spot. Thanks for joining us. David Haynes here with Lorenzo Bonder, our producers, Hugo Lewis and Arjuna Kankapati. Forward to bringing you coverage of more 60-plus racing adventures in a couple of weeks' time. Make sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel or wherever you're watching. We will see you at the Nordschleife.